All right, welcome back, you guys. So today we're just going to talk about how to get user input in Java. Now there's multiple different classes that do this. We're going to use the scanner class to do this. Again, I'm going to kind of walk through the Google Slides a little bit. There's lots of examples that we won't go through, but we'll go over the basics, okay? So to start, everything in Java is a class. That's the orientation or the organization of the language. And so we're going to import the scanner class so we have all of the methods and attributes, okay? So we're going to go import, this is just a totally new file, from Java utilities, we're going to import the scanner class. Okay, so now we have all of the capabilities of that scanner class. We can make new objects of that type and then call on their methods, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to make a class. I'm going to call it, let's say, first inputs. Okay, now all we need is that main method. Now again, I would encourage you to type this yourself. The more often you do it, the more used to it you'll get. And again, we're going to slowly, as we learn more about the Java language, the signature line will become more clear, okay? But it's public static void main. And then we're going to pass something in here. And what we pass in is a bunch of things that we call arguments. So what that does is actually in the command. So if we open this up, oops, I got to save this first on the desktop. I'm going to exactly type in the name, first inputs. I'm going to make sure I have, it's a .java file. Okay, so I'm going to open it in CMD. And so what this lets you do is when you go javac first inputs.java and you compile that, if I were to run Java first inputs, I could add in like -v, with an extra like hello. So I could type in other arguments out there, and that lets the user that's executing your program send in extra information on how they want to execute it, maybe version control options. And so that's what that string args is there for. We're not going to use it as beginners, but I encourage you to use that structure. All right, so here we go. We're going to make our first scanner object. So going down here, this is the line we're going to use here. The big idea here is you're instantiating your first object. So the whole idea of a class is it's a blueprint for making objects. So we're going to say we have this blueprint for making a scanner that takes an input. Now I can make as many different objects that do that as we want. In this case, we just want one thing that handles all of our inputs. So we're going to say, just like we would say int a, I'm going to say of the type scanner, I'm going to name it whatever I want. In the example, they called it keyboard. I'll often just shorten that to KB. You could call it get input, like it's just a variable name. Okay, so just to stick with the example, let's call it keyboard. Okay, and then we're going to equal, and the way you create a new object is you use the new keyword, and then you say of the class, and this is the constructor. We'll get to what this is later, but it essentially builds the object with whatever preset information you want it built with. And all we're going to do is we're going to send it access to the system's input. Okay, so what we did is we created an object called keyboard of type scanner. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this int a. We don't need that. And now we have our keyboard thing. We could just go keyboard dot and call on a method from it. Okay, and down here we got scanner methods. And so what methods or functions can the scanner class do? Well, the easiest ones are it can just get the primitive data types, right? So it can ask the user for like, what's your name, what's your age, things like that. So I'm going to print a simple message. So I'm going to say like, and we'll scroll down to a little example here. So this is the simple idea as I'm printing instructions, then I'm going to scan, and then I'm going to print out the result. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. So we'll go system.out.print. Now I'm not going to use print line because that would go to the next line. I want it to stay on this line, and I'm going to say please enter your age. And if we want to be really clear, we could say your integer age, so they don't put in like I'm 8.5 or something years old. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a space. I'm gonna end that line, And then I'm going to actually get to the keyboard. So I'm going to say keyboard dot, and now I said integer, so I'm going to go back to our scanner methods, and this is something that you could just Google. You go Java scanner method. So any class you want to look up on Java, I really encourage you to be able to just Google it and then look at the list of methods. So here's the constructors and here's all the methods, okay? And you can go through and just read what each one does. This is just a simplified, the most common ones we'll use. Okay, so I want to get the next integer. Okay, now I haven't said where I want to save this so far. So that gets the integer. So it has the integer, and I want to save it. So I want to say save it as int age, okay? And then below that, I'm going to go ahead and print the result. So I'm going to say system.out.println you are. And remember, because Java, we're so strict about what data type everything is, we can join all these things with just the plus. So plus age, plus years old. Okay, there we go. So it's red up here right now. I'm gonna Control S to save this, and then I'm gonna right click and open CMD, and I'm going to Java C to compile my file called firstinputs.java. Okay, no errors, that's good. We go Java to run it. First inputs, we hit enter, and it says please enter your age. Notice that it's still blinking on the same line because I used print and not print line. I like that just aesthetically. Okay, so let's say I'm 5, and then now it says you are 5 years old. Okay, so that's the basics of it. Common mistake is people do the keyboard dot next int, and they don't save the variable. Another one is people as beginners will start creating a bunch of new scanner objects, right? So they'll do that to get one scan, and then right below they'll be like, okay, so here's a scanner keyboard 2 that equals a new ... right? And they do that to do the next scan. You don't need to do that. We have one scanner that can handle all input now. So if that was like one set, so here I can make a quick note, ask for age and respond accordingly. Okay, and now I could say, let's ask for their name, right? And so we can again go system.out.print. We can say, what is your first name? The reason I'm being clear about that is because when you scan, you either scan in one string until the first white space, so one single word, or you scan an entire line, and those are handled a little differently. So I'll demonstrate both. Right now I'm just going to do a single word, okay? And down here I'm going to say we want to create a string called name, and we're going to do keyboard dot, and let's look over here and see what we want. Okay, so the next handles the next one word string. So that uses the white space. It uses spaces, enter keys. Those are generic white space, and it doesn't matter if there's 20 spaces or 1. That's what it uses to separate. So I'm going to say just next, and that gets a single word string. And then I'm going to system.out.println. Now notice again, I'm using the same keyboard of the scanner class. I don't need to make a second one. So to print line, hello, and then plus name. Okay, let's save it. Again, it's red up here, so I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back to, I left my command prompt window open. So now I can just hit up to recompile it, and then up down to rerun it. And please enter your age. This time I'm 12 years old. I age quickly. My name is Brendan, and hello, Brendan. Now, what if I wanted to get an entire line? And so I'm going to add here a single word, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, but I want to get a full line here, okay? So ask for their full name. Okay, so system.out.print, what is your full name? Okay, and now I'm going to use that same thing. I'm still going to save as a string, right? A string could be massively long. It's just an array in memory. So actually this variable name actually just points to the first slot in the string, and then you could keep adding as many characters as you want to that array of characters, right? A string is simply a collection of single letters. So I'm going to go with string, let's call this one full name, and then we'll do keyboard dot. And now we're going to have a problem the first time we do this, and I want to run into that on purpose, okay? So we're going to do next line, okay? So this is going to get the whole line until the next white space. And then we're going to say system.out.println. I wonder if you guys can predict the error, not, I shouldn't say error, but the problem I'm going to run into when this runs, okay? So I'm going to say hello, and then here is the full name, okay? So I'm going to red up there, it's not saved, Control S to save it. I'm going to go back over here and up to recompile, up down. Okay, so I'm still 12 years old. My name is still Brendan. And what the heck? It said, what's your full name? And it just went right ahead and I didn't even get a chance to enter anything. Like, what's the reasoning there, right? Well, the next uses the white space, right? It uses the white space to get a one-word string. So what that means is it stops when it gets to that white space. And the white space specifically is right here when I entered my name and then hit the enter key. So in the input stream, it said, okay, well, up until the white space, I'm going to grab that one single string, Brendan, but what's still in the input buffer there is you've still got that enter key from before that we hit. And so if you actually want to scan in a new line, the first thing you need to do is if there was something inputted before, there's still going to be that enter key, that new line carriage, that \n escape character, that's still going to be there. So what you want to do is run next line twice. Okay, so now the first time you could just be like, here, I'm throwing this in the garbage, but it doesn't matter because if we throw it into full name and then immediately overwrite it, the only thing we got to do is not make a new one. So we just throw the new line character in there first and then say, all right, now that we've wiped away that enter key, now we can get the next full line and save it in full name right over this. So I'm going to save this. All I'm doing different now is I'm running next line twice. And the reason is because I asked for something before that used white space to separate, right? Integers also use the white spaces to separate. Go, oh, here's where the number starts. Here's where it ends because there's spaces or an enter key after. So if you have something like that before you ask for a full line, then you need to do this. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to go over here, go up, compile, up, down, run. Now I'll say I'm 12, my name is Brendan, and oh, it's actually prompting me for my full name now. So I'm going to say Brendan Dilloughery because I've got such an awesome Irish name. And look at that. There we go. There's the full name that it works. So those are the basics of how to scan something in. The methods here simply handle scanning in different data types. The most common ones we're going to do is a whole number or a decimal, and we're just going to use doubles for everything. Or we're going to be getting a single word or a full line, right? So those are kind of the four that we will use the most. And then the Google Slides go through a lot of examples about handling different data types or special cases. But this is really the basics, is you need to import the scanner class. One time you instantiate the class to make an object of the scanner class. And that's okay if that's like that's kind of, a little scary to you right now, as you don't know the words instantiate, object, class. That's stuff we're really going to get into over the next few weeks. This is your first example of that. But I encourage you to try and understand it now, and then really just go ahead and use it and play with the scanner class. And as we start making our own simple classes, what a class is, what a constructor, an object, instantiate, what those mean will become a lot more clear over the coming weeks. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video.